Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Police are tonight urging the public to take more care when under the influence of alcohol in public, following a rescue on Hobart's Waterfront in the early hours of this morning. While the man involved is expected to make a full recovery, it comes just 2 weeks after a man from interstate lost his life in similar circumstances. Our reporter Ebony Ablett has more.
It was here at the Elizabeth Street Pier that a man aged in his early 20s was pulled from the water in the early hours of this morning. Shortly after 1 a.m, police were called to this location following a report that a man had stumbled off the end of the wharf and fallen into the water. He was initially assisted by a passerby from the Salvo Street team, who threw the man a life ring from the nearby Windward Bound. This action has been credited with potentially saving the man's life.
Within a short period of time, there were 2 uniformed police presence, and seeing that the male was having some difficulty, they've entered the water themselves and managed to guide him to a ladder, which he's climbed, and he's been safely recovered from the water.
It is not yet understood how or why the man entered the water, but alcohol is believed to be a factor in the incident.
What I'd like to really push is that when people are out and about, just to take care of their own environment, their own surroundings, and if they've had a bit to drink, not to go near the edges of the water or have someone with them to take care of them.
This incident comes after Victorian man Jared Davies lost his life in similar circumstances earlier this month. Mr Davies was visiting the state with his father for a training course when he went missing after a night out. His body was recovered by divers more than 48 hours later.
The young man sadly lost in the Hobart Waterfront a couple of weeks ago. That's still a pending coronial inquiry. The first incident was concerning enough, and within a couple of weeks we've had another young male end up in the water.
The man from this morning's incident has had a lucky escape. He was taken to the Royal Hobart Hospital for treatment. Although exhausted and disorientated, it is anticipated he will make a full recovery.
Labor has unveiled its bold new plan for a Tasmanian AFL team, calling for the government to deliver an ultimatum to league power brokers. It wants the state's North Melbourne deal to be scrapped unless the AFL commits to a local side.
Hobart is the home away from home for the Kangaroos, but Labor believes the team is not kicking enough goals for taxpayers.
We believe North Melbourne and the money that we spend can be better spent elsewhere.
Urging the government to abandon further deals with the club unless the AFL agree to a provisional licence for a state side within a 6-month deadline.
What has to be our priority is making sure that we do everything possible to get a Tassie team here for our state.
This is clearly just a stunt by Labor to get a headline.
The government's contracts with both North Melbourne and Hawthorn are due to expire next year. The opposition believes the Hawks' commitment should be renewed.
They've created hundreds and thousands of direct and indirect jobs. They're bringing tourism to the north of the state.
But the multi-million-dollar Kangaroos partnership should be punted, redirecting the funds into grassroots football.
We need to review those agreements in context of the response of the AFL.
The Premier says he's held productive meetings with AFL CEO Gillan McLachlan.
I was buoyed by the meeting, and now the task force will engage with the AFL and we'll work through this process.
Critics say enough talk. Now is the time for the government to throw down the gauntlet. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
2 men have been charged after an alleged armed robbery in the Bellreeve area last night. Police allege that a man in his 20s left the Waterfront Hotel when he was involved in a minor altercation where his wallet and mobile phone were stolen.
When the complaint was initially made, the victim believed there had been a firearm, but as a result of police inquiries thus far, we've been not able to sort of confirm yes or no whether there was.
The 2 alleged offenders were arrested shortly afterwards at an address nearby. Anybody who witnessed the incident or may have information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. New Tasmanian mums will have access to a potentially life-saving device in a bid to prevent infant deaths. 100 Pepi pods will be distributed to antenatal clinics in Hobart over the 6-month trial. It will help provide a safe sleeping environment for newborns.
Pepi pods are a pathway not only to help educate parents, but also ensure that we've got safe sleeping practices.
After the trial, the government may look to roll out the program statewide. Thousands of people were up bright and early this morning in Hobart for this year's Run the Bridge. The men's race provided a back-to-back champion, while in the women's, a Canadian Olympic hopeful edged out a Tasmanian in the final stretch.
The Tasman Bridge is used to heavy morning traffic, but today's movements over the bridge were a little different. Cars and motorbikes replaced by a mixture of premier road runners and local fitness fanatics, pushing themselves to the limit, over distances ranging from 10 kilometres right through to a 1k dash.
There was just over 4,200 participants in total. We're still counting some of the late entries from this morning, which you always get, so that's the most that we've ever had and one of the biggest fun runs ever held in Tasmania.
In the women's, it was a thrilling race, with the lead changing multiple times. With around a kilometre to go, Canadian Andrea Sakafian and local hero Millie Clark were neck and neck. However, the Canadian dug deep when it mattered, storming home to win by just 11 seconds, ahead of Clark and Adelaide's Tara Palm.
Millie put up a really good battle. I gapped her a bit, I think at about 5k, and then she came back up on me, so it was good to just kind of have that back and forth. I think it made it a bit more interesting.
It was a similar story in the men's, with defending champion Brett Robinson and Liam Adams battling it out over the course of the race. Adams was narrowly in front as they crossed the bridge. However, Robinson broke away at the cenotaph, holding on to secure the win. His eyes now focused on qualifying for the Tokyo Olympic Games.
The Olympics is something special that the whole world knows about it and knows when it's on, so I'm very looking forward to it.
They went toe to toe, they didn't sit on each other, they went side by side, battled it out, and in the end it was Brett Robinson who got the win, only 2 seconds shy of his course record set just last year.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian paddler Kate Eckhart finished 5th in today's C1 final at the Australian Open Canoe Slalom. Eckhart ranked as the top under-23 paddler in the event. Fellow Tasmanian Daniel Watkins narrowly missed out on making the final of the K1 men's heat, finishing 12th in the semi-final.
Good evening. A fine day across the state today. Hobart 25, 26 in Launceston, Burnie 21 while Devonport reached 22. The state's top was 27 on Flinders Island and at Ouse, Grove 25 today, Smithton and St Helens 23, King Island 22, Low Head and Strawn both 21 degrees. On the satellite, partly cloudy conditions over the state today. Further afield, a high level cloud band sits to the west of Tasmania, a dominant high pressure system to the southeast of Australia and patchy low cloud along the east coast. Tomorrow a weak front will cross the state with a second front moving in, a high pressure ridge in the Bight and the mainland dominated by surface troughs and lows. Coastal waters and west to northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, variable winds for the remainder up to 15 knots and swells to 3.5 metres in the south, below a metre in the north. Monday's forecast now, Hobart partly cloudy and 24, a possible light shower for Dover, Ouse, fine and 25. A cloudy day in Launceston 24, Devonport and Scottsdale 22. Burnie cloudy and 22, 21 at Strawn and Stanley, cloudy 21 also. Much the same for the east and Helens and Swansea 21 tomorrow and Ross 23 there. The UV forecast very high. Turning to Tuesday now, and showers about the Bass Strait Islands extending to the northeast but fine elsewhere. Wednesday, showers about the Furneaux Islands and the west extending statewide in the morning and mostly clearing by late afternoon. And finally Thursday, showers for the west, central and southern areas but a mainly fine day expected elsewhere. Perth tomorrow looking at a shower and 33, Adelaide 33 also, Melbourne a cloudy 27, showers for Brisbane and 27, 29 in Canberra and Sydney 28 degrees. And it's 19 right now in Hobart, a sunny 24 in Launceston, Devonport mostly sunny and 19. Rach, that's Sunday's weather.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Laura. Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Good night.